Good afternoon, children. I am BD Upadhyay, your social science teacher. I hope you are fine, you are safe at home. Children, today I shall teach you the second chapter of civics, that is federalism. Before I discuss the concept of federalism with you, I want to revise some important topics which were discussed by me in the previous class about the concept of power sharing. The first lesson is about the power sharing, in which the topics we discussed earlier, they were Belgium and Sri Lanka, majoritarianism in Sri Lanka, accommodation in Belgium, and the topic which were discussed, uh, why power sharing is desirable, and finally we discussed about the forms of power sharing. I hope you must have understood the topic, and I have sent some assignments to you. Some other notes have already been given by me so that you can understand the concept about the power sharing. Children, today we shall discuss the second chapter of civics, that is federalism. Children, federalism, first of all, we need to understand what federalism is. Federalism is a system of government in which the power is divided between a central authority and various constituent units of the country. Okay, like in India we have central government, state government, we have local government also. The powers, whatever the powers are given to the governments, whether it is central government, state government, or local government, these powers have been mentioned in the constitution of the country. Okay, there is a clear provision as to know what kind of powers are to be used by the central government, what kind of powers are to be used by the state government, and what kind of powers are to be exercised by the local government, so that there is not any kind of confusion, okay, between the two governments. Today we need to understand, apart from the definition of federalism, some features of federalism. Okay, in today's class we shall discuss the features of federalism. So listen these points very carefully. First of all, the points which are important for us to see the features of federalism. The first uh, feature of federalism is that there are two or more than two levels of the government. Okay, if there is only one level of government, then we cannot call it a federal government, we cannot call it a federalism. So there must be two or more than two levels of government. And second is that these governments, okay, whether they are central government, state government, or local government, these governments govern the same citizens. Okay, in case of our country we have central government, state government, and local government. Though citizens are same, they are governed by all the governments. And each government has a jurisdiction in specific matters of legislation, taxation, and administration. Okay, whatever the laws are to be made by any government, whether it is central or state government, so the government has to make the law, even however the whether it is central legislature or state legislature. Okay, so it has been specified in the constitution. Okay, if there is a jurisdiction of the central government on a particular subject, so state government cannot make law on that subject. Okay, so third point is, so the jurisdiction of the respective levels or tiers of government are specified in the constitution. Okay, it means that they are constitutionally guaranteed to this government. And next feature of the federalism is that if there is needed any change to be made by any government, okay, both the governments there must have the consent of both the governments, central government, state. The fundamental provisions of the constitution cannot be changed by only one level of government. Okay, so it so if there is any need to change any fundamental provision of the constitution, so there must be the consent of both the governments. Children, the many times we see there are some clashes or some issues there may be, so between central government, state government, or local government, whatever it is. So there is the provision of the court. The courts have the power to interpret any dispute or any issue. Okay, if it is brought to the notice of the court, the court has the power to interpret it. So after these features, there is some important points to be discussed regarding federalism, is that uh, the federal system has dual objectives. Okay, dual objectives. Two objectives are there. First, the first objective of federalism is to safeguard and promote unity of the country. Okay, to safeguard and promote the unity of the country, while at the same time it accommodates regional diversity. Okay, regional diversity, as we know that in our country where different types of people belong to different castes, different religions, they speak different languages. So in order to uh, safeguard and promote unity of the country, we have made the provision of the federalism. So children, these are the main features of federalism. At the same time, we need to understand that governments at different level should agree to some rules of power sharing. Okay, power sharing, as we have discussed in the previous class, as I discussed earlier, uh, in the class of power sharing, in the chapter of power sharing, that in our country we have democracy, and democracy is based on the principle of equality and justice. And democracy does not discriminate the people on any ground. Okay, all the people are treated equally. Their dignity is respected. Okay, people have the right to say against the decisions taken by the government. Okay, so power sharing is very important so far as democracy is concerned. Okay, in our country we have made the provision of uh, federalism. Children, so further we shall discuss the two categories of power sharing. They are, first is coming together federations, and second is holding together federation.